I've been singing Octopus Energy's praises for years, but in this video I'm going to show you how the competition is hotting up in the electric vehicle and solar and battery tariff space. So much so that I've left Octopus for electrons new, with potentially hundreds of pounds of savings to be had. I'll show you what you need to know and do before, during and after switching, plus how you can bag an extra £70 if you choose to do the same. Don't go anywhere. I've been a homeowner since 2011, and every year without fail I would spend some time seeing if I could switch to a better deal. In fact, there were a few times when I switched after just 6 months with an energy supplier to a better deal, saving myself hundreds of pounds along the way. But in 2019 I switched to Octopus Energy. It was a breath of fresh air, and I've stayed with them ever since, namely for their innovative tariffs, cheaper off-peak rates, saving sessions and great customer service, which really set them apart from their competitors. My son was also chosen as one of Octopus Energy's 5th birthday competition winners in 2021 for his Earth calendar 1 year to save the planet. Such was the service from Octopus Energy that I stopped looking at other energy suppliers entirely. The odd refer a friend reward and Greg's freebie helped too. However, this bubble somewhat popped for me earlier this year in April 2024 when energy prices fell. The Octopus Go tariff I was on over winter saw a reduction in the peak rates from 29.6p to 25.8p per kilowatt hour. Great, right? Well, yeah. But the off-peak rate, which is where I consume around 95% of my electricity, stayed exactly the same at 9p per kilowatt hour. My standing charge went up from 55.4p per day to a whopping 69p here in the northeast. But that's another matter entirely. I even posted my surprise and annoyance at the off-peak rate staying the same on X, for which Octopus replied that the rates were already super low at 7.5p per kilowatt hour. Kind of missing the point and instead making reference to the intelligent Octopus Go tariff rate of 7.5p per kilowatt hour, which I can't access as I don't have a compatible car or charger. If you have solar panels and a battery like we do, then you'll know Octopus Energy have led the way with their solar and battery tariffs, like Octopus Flux and other wholesale tracker tariffs like Octopus Agile. On these tariffs, the export payment rate varies depending on the time of day, with the highest export rate being paid between 4 and 7 p.m. However, whilst on the Octopus Go tariff, we're limited to an export rate of 8p per kilowatt hour on outgoing light. However, whilst making this video, the rates on Octopus Smart tariffs changed again in July 2024, and in some cases the duration of the off-peak period changed too. I'll quickly summarise these now. The rates discussed will relate to my North East England postcode and include VAT. Octopus Go, which is specifically designed for all electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicle owners, has seen a reduction in its peak and off-peak rates, with its peak rate falling to 22.41p per kilowatt hour from 25.83p, and its off-peak rate falling to 8.5p per kilowatt hour from 9p. The off-peak duration has also increased from 4 to 5 hours, between 12:30 and 5:30 am, giving you an extra hour of off-peak charging. Intelligent Octopus Go, which schedules your EV charging automatically at the lowest rates, if you have a compatible car or charger, has seen a reduction in its peak and off-peak rates too, with its peak rate falling to 22.41p per kilowatt hour from 25.83p, and its off-peak rate falling to 7p per kilowatt hour from 7.5p. The off-peak duration between 11:30 p.m. and 5:30 a.m. remains the same at 6 hours. Octopus Flux, which is specifically designed for solar and battery system owners, has seen a reduction in its day, peak and off-peak rates, with its off-peak rate falling to 12.77p per kilowatt hour from 14.01p. The off-peak duration remains the same at 3 hours. The export rate stayed the same during the day at 14.31p per kilowatt hour, but the peak rate has reduced to 21.37p per kilowatt hour from 23.46p. Intelligent Octopus Flux, which automatically charges and discharges your battery to give you the most returns, has seen a reduction in its day and peak import rates, with its day rate falling to 19.15p per kilowatt hour from 21.02p, and the peak rate falling from 28.02p per kilowatt hour to 25.54p. The export rate has also reduced for both the day rate and is the same as the import rates at 19.15p per kilowatt hour during the day and 25.5p per kilowatt hour during the peak. These import rate changes are great and they've been a long time coming. However, I don't think they go quite far enough, especially if you're on the Octopus Go tariff. So after 5 years of not looking around, I started to do just that. In this video, I'm going to have a look at the competition in a bit more detail and compare the savings of the most competitive option compared to sticking with Octopus Energy. So who's knocking on the door of the Octopus Castle? To compare apples with apples, I'll look at the following points: off-peak rate, off-peak duration in hours, peak rate, daily standing charge, and the export rate. And importantly, for all these tariff options I'm going to compare, the off-peak hours must apply to all electricity consumption rather than just charging an electric vehicle. First up, it's British Gas and their electric driver V7 tariff. I know, British Gas, but just hear me out. For us here in the northeast of England, they're offering an off-peak rate of 7.9p per kilowatt hour for 5 hours with a peak rate of 25.82p per kilowatt hour and a daily standing charge of 66.82p. Exported electricity is paid at a reasonable rate of 15p per kilowatt hour, but be aware that this is variable and can therefore go up and down. Next up, it's EDF with their Go Electric overnight tariff. With this, we would get 8.99p per kilowatt hour off peak for 5 hours with a peak rate of 26.85p per kilowatt hour and a daily standing charge of 70.93p. Export, on the other hand, is a measly 5.6p per kilowatt hour, and again, this is a variable tariff. Finally, we have E.On EXTRA version 3. This gives us 6.9p per kilowatt hour off peak for a massive 7 hours with a peak rate of 28.56p per kilowatt hour and a daily standing charge of 71.2p. Exported electricity is paid at a rather attractive 16.5p per kilowatt hour and is fixed for 12 months. Okay, so looking at those options, you can see by quite some distance, E.ON's EXTRA version 3 tariff with the next export exclusive is the best of the alternative options to Octopus Go and Octopus Lite. If you're subscribed to the channel and have been watching over the last couple of years, you'll know that I don't just stick with Octopus Go for the whole year. Around April, when the days get longer, we switch to Octopus Flux to maximise our export payments, and then to Octopus Go in September-October time when the sun has gone AWOL. Even though there are no exit fees for either the Octopus Flux or the E.On EXTRA tariffs, it would be a pain to switch my import and export every 6 months, i.e. E.On EXTRA over the winter, and then Octopus Flux in the summer. But do we have to? Let's take a closer look at the numbers and whether it's worth doing this at all. Using my tariff comparison spreadsheet, I'm going to compare Octopus Go, E.On EXTRA version 3, and the Octopus Flux tariff that I'm currently on. I can do this by entering my system spec details here, peak and off-peak consumption, pre-solar and battery here, and the tariff peak, off-peak rates, standing charge and export rate here. You can download the spreadsheet and have a go running your own specific numbers too via the link in the video description box below. Special thanks to the hundreds of you who have already subscribed and downloaded the spreadsheet already. Just to note, the rates I'm entering are the new rates for July 2024 as we discussed earlier and include VAT. So for Octopus Go, the peak rate is 22.41p per kilowatt hour, off-peak rate 8.5p per kilowatt hour, and standing charge 69.14p per day. The export rate is 8p per kilowatt hour. For E.On EXTRA, the peak rate is 28.56p per kilowatt hour, off-peak rate 6.9p per kilowatt hour, and standing charge 71.2p per day. The export rate is 16.5p per kilowatt hour. Lastly, Octopus Flux. As mentioned, the Flux tariff is specifically for those with solar and battery storage. With this tariff, there are 3 different rates for the import and export elements. It's worth noting that this is a flexible tariff. This means the unit and standing charges can rise and fall as it has done in July 2024. The peak import rate between 4 and 7 PM goes up to 29.79p per kilowatt hour, and export follows suit at 21.37p per kilowatt hour. The off-peak rate or flux import rate is between 2 AM and 5 AM and is 12.77p per kilowatt hour. And the export rate during these times is 4.35p per kilowatt hour. But as I've said in previous videos, I'm not sure why you'd ever discharge at that rate. Finally, during the day, we'd be paying 21.28p per kilowatt hour, with day export being guaranteed 14.31p per kilowatt hour. We can plug these numbers into the solar and battery calculator, but as you can see, there are only 2 rates for import and 1 for export, whereas the Flux tariff has 3 import and export rates. As I mentioned before, we import very little peak rate electricity between 4 and 7 PM, so I've completely omitted this import rate from the numbers, instead using the day rate of 21.28p per kilowatt hour as the peak rate, with the 12.77p per kilowatt hour being used as the off-peak rate. The export is a bit trickier, but it worked quite well last year estimating this figure. I suspect in January, February I'll be averaging 14.31p per kilowatt hour, as generation improves in March 15p per kilowatt hour, and once we hit spring and summertime a range of around 16.5p per kilowatt hour is achievable. As autumn and winter come about and solar generation falls, so will our average export rate, back to the baseline of 14.31p per kilowatt hour. Once completed, I can click on the Get Results button. You can see that all the data we input on the previous sheet has been used and broken down into 3 tariff sections. In these individual tariff sections, you can see the peak, off-peak, and total daily cost before solar and battery installation. Under this are your figures after solar and battery installation. The most important bit of this subsection being the total monthly balance, which is simply the monthly saving plus the monthly export payment. Finally, you'll find the total year import cost, export, total year savings, payback, and ROI numbers. Since my last video, I've also added into the downloadable spreadsheet a total year standing charge. You'll notice that some of the cells are filled green, and this highlights the best saving results across all 3 tariffs at a glance. The highest standing charge across all 3 tariffs is highlighted in red. Looking at my numbers for these 3 tariffs, E.On EXTRA is a clear overall winner over both Octopus Go and Octopus Flux, owing to the low cost of imported electricity and decent rate of exported electricity throughout the year. As mentioned before, I've used an Octopus Go Flux hybrid mix, being on Octopus Go from October till March, and then Flux from April till September. And looking at the spreadsheet for the months of May to August on Flux, these attract slightly more savings. But this is only about £10 difference, and these figures are based on last year's solar generation, you know, when we actually had some sun. Though I am curious to know just what the difference would be of an Octopus Energy hybrid tariff compared to the E.On EXTRA tariff. So I'm going to change the bottom section, tariff 3, to Octopus Go / Flux, and the rates accordingly. So the months of January to March and October to December to Octopus Go rates. As predicted, E.On EXTRA produces the most savings, but we can see the true difference is around £200 each year. The only thing the E.On EXTRA tariff falls down on is the standing charge. But as you can see, this is around a £7 difference over the whole year, and the £200 in saving more than makes up for this. So now that I know it's going to save me money over the year compared to an Octopus Go Flux hybrid tariff, let's deep dive on the E.On EXTRA tariff version 3 and the next export exclusive to make sure they are suitable and some things to consider before making the switch. Firstly, am I eligible for these tariffs? According to the E.On website, it states to be eligible, you must own or lease an electric vehicle or have a solar storage system and must pay by direct debit. So this is much better for solar and battery storage owners without an electric car, compared to the Octopus Go tariff where you have to own or lease an electric vehicle to get onto it. And just for the avoidance of any doubt, this includes plug-in hybrid electric vehicles or PHEVs too. Like with most time of use tariffs, you'll need a smart meter that can send E.On half-hourly updates on your energy use. This is so they can bill you the correct rate for when you're using that electricity. If you don't already have one, they can install one free of charge. But prices are predicted to go up in October 2024, aren't they? What then? Cornwall Insight are predicting a rise of around 7% in typical household electricity bills, primarily attributed to a rise in wholesale prices since February of this year. However, unlike the Octopus Go and Flux tariffs, which are variable, as we've seen with the price changes in April and again in July 2024, E.ON's Next Drive and the Next Export exclusive tariffs are fixed for 12 months. And as I mentioned before, there are no exit fees. It's also reassuring that when Octopus dropped their export rate in July 2024, E.On didn't, and the 16.5p per kilowatt hour export still applies. 7 hours of cheap electricity, you say? With E.ON's Next Drive version 3 tariff, you get a massive 7 hours of electricity at 6.9p per kilowatt hour, from midnight till 7 AM in the morning. That is significantly more than the 5 hours and 3 hours of cheaper electricity with Octopus Go and Flux respectively. For us personally, this would work really well, as we're likely to be buying a fully electric vehicle soon, and 7 hours of charging would be very welcome. And I've got some really exciting news whilst editing this video. I've actually bought a used Nissan Leaf, so it's a 30 kilowatt hour battery, so that I'm sure that our savings will be even more than the £200 that I predicted earlier from switching to E.On. Plus, I could always move turning on other appliances such as our dishwasher or washing machine, which I would usually run during the day on solar, to the off-peak period, allowing me to then export as much as I can during the day at 16.5p per kilowatt hour. Filling up an EV with a bigger battery using our existing 3 kilowatt charger would be tricky, being restricted to a maximum of 5 hours on go compared to our PHEV, which is charged to full each night within this time period. Having 7 hours of off-peak charging would likely mean that we could continue to use our 3 kilowatt charger for longer rather than needing to upgrade it to a 7 kilowatt one, thereby avoiding the significant cost of installing a new charging point. The longer off-peak period would also be helpful in the winter, keeping a home storage battery topped up for longer when solar generation largely disappears. We also have a couple of electric showers that at their peak draw up to 9 kilowatts of electricity, and we've been avoiding using these, instead using another shower which runs off our mammoth 300 litre hot water tank up in the loft. We're often up well in advance of 7 AM on weekdays and could utilise this longer period of off-peak electricity with E.On to run our electric showers, or use the electric immersions to heat the hot water tank instead of gas. Although I'd need to rerun the numbers of whether it's cheaper to heat my hot water with gas or electricity, and this is further explained in the video linked in the top right hand corner. Speaking of gas, would I need to move both my electricity and gas supply across to E.On? You can certainly move both across if you want, but I'm just moving my electricity import and export to E.On. I'm keeping my gas supply with Octopus on their tracker tariff, which is still much cheaper than any 12-month fixed tariff at the time of making this video. Over the last 9 months or so, I've averaged around 4p per kilowatt hour of gas. I've been banging the Octopus drum for the last 5 years. Do I have any concerns about switching away? Yes, I'd be lying if I said I didn't. E.On have a Trustpilot score of 4.3 from over 85,000 reviews, which isn't bad, but it isn't anything compared to Octopus Energy's 4.8 from nearly 300,000 reviews. And there are so many questions. Can I switch directly onto the next right tariff, or do I need to go onto a standard fixed tariff? And if so, how long will I be on that for? And I'm switching during the summer, peak exporting time. How long will it take me to get set up for export payments? Will my payments be backdated? How and how often will I be paid? Of course, I knew I could always switch back to Octopus Energy if it all went wrong. Okay, I'm convinced those savings look good. Let's do it. Switching tariffs couldn't be easier, and like Octopus, E.On offers a refer a friend scheme through your very own referral link, giving you and whoever you refer £50 each into both your energy accounts. Clicking on the referral link, you'll be directed to this page, where you can pop your postcode in and then find your exact address. After adding in a few details, including whether you have a smart meter, confirming you want to sign up to the next drive tariff, and estimating your annual electricity consumption, you'll get a personalised quote. Next, it will remind you of the eligibility criteria, and note you will initially be signed up to NextFlex, their standard tariff, whilst they connect to your smart meter. Complete the rest of the sign up details and you'll be sent a "Thanks for choosing E.On Next" titled email. Just a note, you'll need to take a smart meter reading on a certain date as instructed in this email. Creating an online account was easy, and I was able to download their app, which allows you to view your usage, statements, tariff details, submit meter readings and more. You can also access your personal refer a friend link here. If you're thinking of joining E.On, we're offering an extra £20 from us on top of the £50 credit you'll get from E.On. I'll drop some further details and the referral link in the video description box below. If you do choose to use our referral link, then thank you, it really helps keep the channel going. So signing up was easy on the 26th of June. Over 1 month in, how's it honestly been? Leaving Octopus Energy's electricity supply was pretty easy. E.On handled that part, and Octopus Energy sent me a final electricity bill and paid my export into my account up to the 1st of July. I officially switched and had my electricity supply taken over by E.On on the 2nd of July, and I was initially placed onto their standard tariff NextFlex, paying 21.28p per kilowatt hour, as expected. One word of advice, take a timestamp photo of your smart meter so you've got proof of both your import and export meter readings. If you're not sure which button to press on your smart meter, I've added this useful link in the video description box below. Moving on to the next drive tariff took longer than I would have liked, and there were no updates along the way. After inquiring about this, E.On suggested that the process of switching to the next drive tariff can take up to 14 days from the day your supply has been live with them. So this would have taken us to the 16th of July, but this date came and went, and when I chased them up on X, they said they would contact the EV team, and this could take up to 10 days for a reply from them. Safe to say, I wasn't best pleased at that response, and rather usefully for me and unfortunately for them, they sent me a Trustpilot link for some feedback. And within 24 hours of leaving my somewhat disgruntled review, I was contacted by email with an update and the promise of someone looking into things further. I gave it another week or so when someone in the same region as me, thanks Dave, let me know they'd finally been switched over. With this, I contacted them on X for an update, and within a few hours I finally received an email confirming that I too had been switched to the NextDrive version 3 tariff. Importantly, E.On did agree to backdate my import payments, and this is confirmed with the end date being the 3rd of July 2025. My direct debit was set at £91.65 a month, which is significantly more than my direct debit was with Octopus. I did try to change this via the dashboard, but wasn't able to. I emailed E.On customer services asking if they could halve the direct debit amount, as I'd be consuming mainly off-peak electricity with my solar and battery setup. They suggested that because I have no supply history with them, they couldn't do this, but could reduce it by 10% and review it in a few months' time. I'm happy to play the game, for now.
To sign up for export with E.On, you will need to complete a Smart Export Guarantee application form online. In order to do this, you'll need to have a valid MCS or FlexiOrb certificate, proof of address, a photo of your smart meter or export meter, schematic diagram, and DNO approval letter or email. E.On will then create you a separate export account to that of your import tariff.
My export account was set up on the 9th of July, 1 week after I joined E.On on the 2nd of July. Unfortunately, my export was not backdated to my original switch date, and my advice to you would be to consume all your solar generation whilst you await your official export tariff start date. Although other customers who have spoken to different staff in their customer services department have been told that their export will be backdated to their original switch date. It seems like singing off the same hymn sheet is difficult for E.On customer service. But in the grand scheme of things, 1 week in a rainy July wasn't really that big a deal. The default payment option for your exported electricity is via cheque. I mean, come on E.On, who uses cheques anymore? To make matters worse, they will only send this cheque out once a year. Thankfully, you can provide your bank details via the online dashboard to get paid directly into your bank account and request payment every quarter, although they did suggest they won't contact me for these quarterly payments. So I've set up a recurring quarterly reminder in my calendar to prompt me to send my export readings through, which incidentally corresponds to when my 2015 FIT benefiting arrays readings are due. The E.On app isn't as good as the Octopus Energy one. It's just not as slick, and even though you can access your electricity usage, it doesn't include live consumption, which the Octopus Home Mini gave me. But that's okay, I've got the Give Energy app mounted in my kitchen and on my phone too to satisfy that need. So in summary then, not a perfect, seamless transition to E.On, but I didn't think it would be, moving both import and export across. I must admit they did reply very quickly to my messages on X, via email, and after reviewing them on Trustpilot. I suspect the admin systems for their time of use tariffs aren't as robust as Octopus Energy's. To be fair and give credit where credit is due, I did go back to edit and update my Trustpilot review for E.On. I had plenty of reservations leaving Octopus Energy to go to E.On, and even though it took a bit of toing and froing with their customer services, I would switch again. The savings are going to be well worth the effort moving forward, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. A poll in a small but growing E.On EXTRA Facebook group showed only 2 out of 51 voters regretted switching, with 33 suggesting that they would switch again. I'll drop a link to this group in the video description box below too. If you choose to sign up via the Refer a Friend scheme, E.On will pay out this referral reward to both accounts once your first statement has been issued and direct debit paid into your account. And don't forget, if you're thinking of joining either E.On or Octopus Energy, check out the referral links in the video description box below for an extra £20. I hope you found that useful. I'll be posting updates as my journey unfolds, so if you've enjoyed this video, learned something new, or it's challenged or confirmed your thought process, please take the time to like and subscribe to the channel. And let me know in the comments section below what your thoughts are, and whether Octopus Energy is still best for you, or if you're looking to explore other options out there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.